I don't lie to y'all. My stomach is volatile. I don't know what that is, but it's terrible.
Aren't you doing a cleanse, basically?
A fast.
High fiber, high liquid.
This normally doesn't affect me like this, but maybe my diet has been so interesting lately that it does. Oof. Yeah. That's bad.
Is that why you burn shit?
Yeah, that's why you lighten up.
I normally burn shit.
Like,
this
why
always
are you
happens at
burning
least once a week.
You burn
At
in
least-
everything.
At least once a week.
At least once a week.
You are burning mad shit. Like,
yeah, you got three
got three
That's
things.
actually not burning.
Well, you
It
used
was,
to.
though, you
That's
tried.
not burning.
You
That's the
tried.
whole purpose. I was like, you know what? If the sage went out, the Santa was necessary.
I see what you did.
Just saying. I'm going with what's in front of me, brah. All right, welcome to Coach's Corner as I am setting things to fire on camera. I am Coach Linden. This is.
M.
And I'm Coach Debbie.
And of course, this is at Getting It Daily, where we help people change their relationship with food and fitness. But this is Coach's Corner, which is why Devin had his hands up 2 seconds
Yeah,
ago.
I thought you were gonna say
Coach's Corner.
I thought it was coming too.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's my job. Never let them know your next move.
Uh-oh.
So, we are, normally we have like topics to discuss, but it's been like a little bit of a whirlwind of a week, at least for me. So I don't have a topic to go over specifically, but we can always talk about stuff. Some interesting connective moments today.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. Got the Carol staying.
Yeah, we got stuff to talk
Popeye
about.
the Sailor Arms, Carol.
Hey, yo.
That was crazy.
Shout outs to Carol.
Shout outs to Carol. Her bicep might be bigger than mine.
She got two.
No.
That's
Bang.
crazy.
She got two of them.
She said like this, and I was like,
We looked twice.
shit. Yeah, I had to.
Yeah.
Wow. Get him, Carol.
Yeah, I think that's what we should talk about. Not about the biceps, but about sometimes, stuff happens for a reason you don't need it to happen. Like Carol showing up at 8 or 9.
Yeah, showing up
Instead
for
of
the
10.
9 o'clock training and staying.
I think it was meant to be.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think stuff like that happens all the time. Where, yeah, and she stayed for 2 hours.
That's it? I was
Yeah.
like, there's not more?
I mean, I don't have much to say. I'm just bringing up the topic and then seeing what you guys have to say on it.
I was like-
what's a...
Talking about the universe.
Yeah, what's a time where the
making room?
universe made some room or made a decision, and you ended up being like, oh, you know what, this is for the
I
best.
thought you had a whole 20-minute terror, but you were just like,
You know
this
what?
is the topic.
Nah.
That's it.
I like that because when you said you had no topic and you said that, I was thinking in my head adaptability. And that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like when stuff happens, how do you adapt? And then what's the message? What's being thrown at you? And how do you move through it? Could be good, could be bad. I thought about your truck.
Yeah. I mean,
Adapting.
you should speak on that. That's a good one.
What? What about it?
In the season of...
I'm so confused.
in the season of your truck, maybe
Oh.
you shit in the bed, but at the same time, you're here with the bike, and that you kind of already started that before the truck shit
Yeah.
the bed. So it was like the universe setting you up for what was to come.
To adapt,
make-
to
yeah.
be agile.
I mean,
Not agility. This month.
it is
This month
this
is
month.
agility.
Putting it in there.
It is this month. I'm having a very low moment because I've had to be on for the last 5 hours. 5 hours. And I'm an introvert, so I'm like this right now. Because there's nothing in my system because I'm detoxing. So I'm having a very moment. But I want to say, oof, it's rough. It's rough over here. I want to say that when it comes to the stuff in between, that you have to really, really pay attention, right? Like a lot of what you do and how you do it and how it's supposed to come across, it depends on how intentional you are. Like I don't think if my truck doesn't work, it's fine. And I don't think of it as a universe prepping moment. I think of it as a universe providing moment. Like nothing that's given to me isn't a gift, even when it's a bad thing, because there's gifts in it. So I've had to learn to look for the good in the bad in a way that allows for me to continue to persevere, right? So losing my truck, if it does happen, because it hasn't, even the idea of losing my truck has started to spur other ideas. So when a thing is taken away from you and replaced with more than one thing, it's not a bad thing to lose. It just feels bad. So I guess I struggled with change for a long time, and then I got to a point where change was so constant. I was just like, cool, like it's gonna change. And people were like, it never changes. I was like, the way I feel will change, but who I feel my things for, that won't change, right? If you take that forward, my feelings for a person can change. However, what I do with those feelings, the obligations I hold, the things I hold near and dear to my heart don't have to change, right? When they do, usually for me, they really do change, right? And then you have to, it's like falling in love all over again. It's not an easy thing to fall in love all over again. And the world speaks against this regularly. So if I lose my truck, I'm supposed to mourn my truck and have this big period where I'm just like all types of weepy and stupid shit. And I've never really co-signed that, right? A lot of it has to do with the fact that if my truck goes, it just provides an opportunity for me to be closer to myself. Like riding a bike has been meditative, you know what I'm saying? Going at times and doing different things. And sometimes I do feel like life pulls me in too many different directions. So whenever I get a humbling moment, I realize it's part of me needing humility instead of it being this big overarching thing. So maybe that's why I'm like, what about it? Like I'm not really thinking about it as a loss. I'm thinking about it as a change, right?
Well, okay, yeah, fair.
So I think that's why I said that.
I like to look at like my place in the big picture, and what this speaks to, I was speaking with Amy last night about Body Keeps the Score, and she was talking about CPSD or CPTSD
Yeah.
and PTSD, and how PTSD really started being studied after like men started coming back from war and they were fucked up, right? And
Facts.
that spurred like more research on the subject, and then ended up bringing light to CPTSD, which has a lot to do with childhood trauma,
Right.
and how that crops up in people. And I was like, you know what? I like that part because I'm a big believer that we focus on a lot of the negative in life, but there's always balance, or it's always ebbing and flowing.
Yeah.
Across the line of balance. And people are like when I talk with my mom on the phone, she's like, politics, war, genocide, like starvation. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, all those things have like always been going on. And I think I've always felt that there was balance, like if we were to focus on people and community helping each other, you would see a lot of that too. And I think even the negative things that you focus on, it's how you're focusing on it. And
Sure.
when Amy was talking about war and how it brought about more research into how trauma shows up in the body, I was like, yo, that's kind of dope. Like war, a lot of people look at war and they're like, I can't see a silver lining or like or a positive.
Well,
to
it's
it.
an all bad, right? It's an
Yeah.
all bad, and it's an all bad for like the wrong reasons, right?
Yeah.
It's an all bad because it makes you feel bad. It's an all bad because you don't know what type of context to take it in. It's an all bad because it's outside of your norm. But like, I feel like this whole detox shit is just gonna have me saying a lot of real shit. If you live in comfort your entire life, then you're probably very unhappy, right? And comfortable people are not very happy people. Uncomfortable people also aren't very happy people. But what I find to be the biggest difference between the two is one always seems to find happiness in moments of effort and the other doesn't. So whenever I meet someone who's comfortable and they're like, I'm happy, it's because everything is going well, right? And I'm just, name the number of times in your life that everything goes well. It's just rare. As someone who experiences hardship and finds the challenge and finds space in the challenge, finds a way to dance in the rain of difficulty. I find myself smiling when things go wrong versus being upset about them. So the truck going down again, it just provided an opportunity for me to keep a promise I made to myself. It wasn't something where I was like upset about it. It was more like, well, I did say I was gonna ride that bike more. And you know, like my elbows are a little inflamed from like riding just shit I haven't done in a while, the way the body gets irritable and agitated. And that same thing happened with running. It's like a compounding effect. But what I can say is different about this time is I am very aware of the change. And as the more aware I am, the easier it is for me to just look at it and say, okay, I accept, right? I accept. I surrender to something greater than myself. And when I surrender to something greater than myself, if it happens, there's a purpose. If there's a purpose, then there's no reason to be angry outside of my initial reaction. If you got it this way, you did it this way on purpose, it's supposed to mean something. I don't know what, but at the same time, I'm gonna just keep trying. That is like something that I've done. We just saw the Forge recently, right? And you know, it's funny, right? Like, it's a little corny, right? But like in a good way, in a way that allows you to kind of see yourself. And as we're watching the movie, right? Like, it's funny, I'm always laughing. I'm like, yo, there's so many black people in here just going,
show you right.
And I'm like, yo, it's that's funny, right? It's not funny because you shouldn't be able to do that. It's because there's so many things we already know to be truth, right? So like, you don't have to seek out truth. You just need to reveal it to yourself. You get what I'm saying? Like, if you already are on the path of truth, then you just need to see it. Like, it's not some other thing. A lot of people aren't even on, that's why I said, if you're lazy, you're not really on the path like that, right? Like, I don't know too many people who are supposed to have been deemed easy lives, right? Facing no hardship. I know people who I think are leading easy lives, and behind the scenes is utter turmoil, right? But I don't know many people living actual easy lives. Fair? So it looks like that for me, but that's also why my circle, when I do pop out or deal with people, usually has to be with people who have faced adversity. I can't really fuck with people who don't know what that looks like, right? Because a person who doesn't know what adversity looks like has no diversity, man. I can't pump with that. If you have no sense of self, then what are we doing? You can't help me. I can't help you. You don't even know who you are. As a business, I'm more than welcome to helping people discover themselves, but they already have an idea of who they are, right? I'm just helping you bring that out. I'm not changing you, right? You're changing yourself. So in this topic, or in talking about being more centered, being more grounded, realizing everything has a purpose, right? Adaptability is a bullshit word to me. And I know that sounds crazy if you don't know what I mean. But again, I don't need to adapt when I'm already there. I just need to reveal that I'm already there to myself. So like, I'll pump with the word and don't at the same time, because I understand it in terms of science. But when it comes to spirituality or physicality in general, I'm like, yo, unless I'm actually getting stronger, which was already there, I just never manifested it, then really, it's new. It's new in that regard. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. I always could be this guy. I just hadn't done the work yet. So when I do the work, I become the guy. To me, that's not adaptability. That's manifestation. They're just different to me. Mm-hmm. So that's how I kind of look at it. If you know, if you have foresight, things of that nature, who you are really is just who you become. Not really adaptability to me. I don't know. Like I said, I knew I was going to say some deep bullshit because
you do know
this complex. I said I was going to say some deep bullshit because of this detox. Mm-hmm. But becoming the best version of yourself is exactly what I think adaptability really is.
Shedding layers of falsity.
Yeah, I think the world has taught you who you are, and it's not even true. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? So like, trying to become who you are meant to be is a painful, arduous, and long process.
Never-ending process.
Yeah. So
What was that?
I said holler.
Holler.
She said holler. All right.
Holler for a
All
dollar.
right. All right. All right. So yeah, that's the way I look at it. That's the way I think it really does belong. I think most people belong in the process. It's just you skip it or you're looking for ease.
Yeah. The movie we watched, it was lit. There's a lot of stuff in it. I think for me,
Yeah, you gonna talk on what you learned at all?
what I learned.
Anything you picked up, learned?
See, listen, I'm not learning anything. I'm just re-remembering.
Oh no. Oh no.
You're telling me.
You're telling me. Yeah, so the movie was, I haven't really watched movies like that. So the feel good, what genre would you consider it in? Like a life movie.
Yeah.
It's like a life movie.
Yeah.
I don't really watch much movies. There are many movies like that, but this was dope. I haven't been to a movie theater in a while. And what I took away from it was really is the correlation of like, we want to build what we have here systemically and be able to recreate it. That felt like a blueprint kind of to what we've already been doing for the last 2 years, which is recognizing that there's a need for men to heal and come together and lead the charge of community and like lead it by example. So having a bunch of strong men around that are, you know, emotionally like able to share with each other and feel that camaraderie, I feel like it's necessary. It's what we've been building here.
Yeah.
And to look at it intentfully, like I haven't heard anyone talk about it like, hey, you're building yourself up to serve, right? So there's an ego death that comes there. And then once you learn this lesson, it's up to you to go out there and like keep it going, you know? Like it's like a pay it forward type thing, but not even. It's more of like, I learned this lesson. I know so many men around me could also use this lesson. And if I'm called to, you know, depart this lesson on you that helped me, and not only just give you the lesson, but also bring you into the fold, you know,
Right.
is like important. I think a lot of men don't have any other person reaching out and being like, hey, these are where you're fucking up, you know, in your life and you're not getting what you need. And I've built this thing, or we've built this thing over here. Come join and be a part of it, and not just be a part of it, but like you have to build yourself up in order to stand toe to toe with us. And there's healing in all of it. I don't know. I like that discipleship part of it.
Yeah, that was the bigger part for me as well. Like there's someone who believes and then there's someone who follows. Right? Like that was the big thing, right? If you look at it, again, religion doesn't matter when it comes to the concept of you just believe and then you follow. Right? You've heard me say it before. I've said things like execution is worship. I didn't just come up with that on the spot. That's actually a saying from Eric Thomas. And what he was talking about is that people will care about your dreams. They will care about your feelings, your dreams, until they don't. But they will never be able to deny your actual execution of whatever you're trying to do, right? So like the reason, if you look at what people do, like we don't think the owner of Amazon is amazing because he had a dream of Amazon. We think he's amazing or has a lot of money because he created Amazon. It's not as simple as saying that's what we believe in, but it's not as simple as saying that's what we're going for. Fair? So I like to think of it in terms of, like, again, there's the dream and then there's the execution.
Walking it out.
Right. Or there's the desire to do. And then there's the actual doing. Right? So desire sounds great until you need to do. And then all of a sudden you don't do, and all of a sudden your dream never comes true. Whatever that dream is, it could be as simple as being in a committed, loving relationship, or being a CEO who makes $1 million a year. Both of them require execution. You get what I'm saying? So when I hear people, when we saw this movie, the guy who was in charge, he spent 2 years with every man in that room.
Yeah, that's crazy.
A full 2
2 years,
years of dedication with a person until they were able to grow enough to disciple another. And he kept doing that. So what we were looking at, what was there, 5 guys in the room?
That's 15 years, yeah.
That is literally a minimum of, there was 5. I think there might have been close to 5 or 6. That's 10 to 12 years of commitment. And the first person was mind-blowing.
That was wild.
I told you. That's what I said. I was like, there's this twist where it's like, oh, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine that? Right? Like, we should probably talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if y'all plan on seeing
I don't
this
know if
movie.
you're trying to see it, but there's a little spoilers warning. We'll put it in your little spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right.
No, I'm gonna get the spoiler.
Well, it's all right.
Are you going to watch the movie?
I mean, I feel like I have to now. Everybody's seen it.
Hey, do you
Go
mind?
ahead.
Everyone being 3-4 people?
That's
Listen,
right.
if you don't
Sasha's
want
seen it too,
spoilers
actually.
for The Forge, which is in theaters currently, turn this shit off right now. All right, so
It's in theaters right now at 7.
yeah, the main guy who owns the company, he lost his son at 17 to a drunk driving accident. Someone T-boned his son, and he was a drunk driver. He ended up going to jail, and he was talking about how he wanted him to rot in his cell, and
He didn't go to jail.
no,
He
okay,
didn't go to jail.
Correction.
He wanted him to go to jail.
yeah, he wanted him to rot in a cell, and then he's bringing this story up because the kid that he's apprenticing or
Mentoring. You're right.
mentoring,
Yeah, you're right.
saw his dad who hadn't been around and was like,
He was doing well, and then the father
yeah, he
popped
was
up.
doing well. His father popped up, and he was like, all his anger came out, and he was like, listen, I'm gonna tell you this story about my son, and you have to, it's for your benefit to forgive.
He said it's like a poison. He said holding on to your hate will poison
you. Right.
Poison you.
And I think that's one of the hardest things to do, is to let go of someone who hurt you immensely. So he's got this story with his son, and you find out closer to the end that the first person that he spent 2 years with, the first man, was the drunk driver who killed his son.
That killed his son.
So now he's got the drunk driver who killed his son is now discipling his son in this men's group. So they're all hanging out together, and you don't find out until the end, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
like
crazy.
3/4 into the movie or something.
Yeah.
It's pretty far into the movie.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shoot, like that's a big deal, right? Because that means in his deficit, in his sunken place, in his place where he knew he had to let it go, he went back and he pursued saving this man.
Yeah, he pursued him.
Instead of it being damning him for the rest of his life, he pursued helping him heal, right? And this is why I love what the movie's called. I'm obsessed with Japanese culture, very much so. I love it. I grew up on it. I grew up on kung fu flicks and other things, and the martial arts, even in the katas and everything. I grew up literally immersed in a lot of different Japanese culture. So when I learned about their integrity and their honor and what they function by, it was like a thing that I started to obsess with. So I learned about the process of forging, right? And when you learn about the process of forging, it's just a hunk of metal at first until heat is applied, until they actually start causing it or start hitting it, right? And then it starts to shape into something more. And the reason they call it the forge is because that's exactly what's happening. See, it's not a one instance, one and done. Again, 2 years with every guy. That's a very long commitment, especially if a person is not receptive. Can you imagine spending 2 years trying to reach someone for their benefit?
And
You get what I'm saying?
I think that's kind of what we do here.
Yeah.
And
That's what we saw with Carol today.
Yeah, and it really does it feels like forging yourself, because if someone's not receptive, then that becomes a practice in patience for you. That becomes a practice in so many different things that will help you help the next person. And I also like martial arts, I got into it for just protection reasons, turned it out I never really needed the protection. I needed the other lessons that came with it, which I guess they translate to protection.
Part of the reason I'm putting my son in martial arts for sure. Like there's only, it's an interesting thing because again, we go real deep with this, but I can speak for men. I can't say this for women, but I'm sure it's just people. But I can speak for men. Learning a hard lesson means dealing with difficulty. Most of the time, adversity has to be part of the thing that helps you become the sword you're meant to become.
Yeah, we were just talking about that before the camera was on.
Yeah.
When Amy was here, I was talking about how most people don't really learn a lesson until you get uncomfortable enough.
Facts.
And I said that's on a small scale and on a macro scale. Like we look at our society and how it's getting more and more uncomfortable, or how economics is getting more and more uncomfortable, how the pollution, the earth just in general is getting more and more uncomfortable. I don't think until we reach a point in humanity as people where we're so uncomfortable that we will enact like change in that way, where it's like, all right, you got to learn the lesson, but until it gets to that point of uncomfortability, what's going to force you to take a look at it?
You mean like learning the lesson is paramount to moving forward, or what whatever you want to do, which is, I agree. And again, if you keep running into the same lesson, you haven't learned it. Like that's literally what's happening to you, and that's a hard thing to face for the average person, because it means that something you're doing is the reason why you have not grown, and that is hard. Like that's a real thing to look at and go, so I'm the problem. No matter what it is, I'm the problem. What I'm not willing to do is the problem, right?
Ego death every time.
Oh yeah, man, I can't tell you the number of times I was stuck, even in my marriage, all because of something I didn't want to do. I was right. Like I justified in the no.
But it doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter in what I'm trying to do. So you just gotta, that's why I said I tell people I lived by the law of disassociation during a time in my marriage in order to be there in my marriage. And most people are like, that doesn't make any sense. It makes absolute sense. I had to disattach my feelings from the actions I had to give. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. Again, they were also experiencing a large deficit. Coming across was important. But what's even more important was the hard part wasn't just coming across. It was maintaining the other side too. I'm still not good. I'm still not happy. I'm still not content. But I'm doing this because I know I should, right? And I'm not going to make a big deal out of it to you, because I think that happens too often too. It's the spectacle. Well, I'm only doing this because I'm supposed to. I don't need to tell you that, right? And if I'm really taking this burden on, I'm taking it on, and I'm taking it on because I know the benefit. Right? The benefit will far outweigh the burden. So it looks like that to me in Turbo. And again, we see that in here quite frequently. Carol is literally the best example I can see of that, as Carol just said how much they belong here and how they're so grateful for all the amazing people in here. I remember Carol came in, wouldn't even talk to nobody.
I remember
Carol then came in here, nasty about it for sure, right? And like nasty about it. And on top of that, would come in and had left at one point and then came back, and then wasn't sure if they wanted to come back, so they left again, then they came back again. And then that's, to me, that is the epitome of what church is supposed to be for real people, like for everybody. It's supposed to be a place where you can come as you are and you still can receive exactly what you need. So I like to emphasize that. Em didn't talk a lot.
I didn't see the movie.
That's fair. Yeah,
I didn't see the movie yet.
What do you have to say on the movie?
I'm absorbing.
The movie in itself was a good call. Was a good call. It was definitely a good lesson. And yes, it's an extension of what we do here. It's an extension of what I do as a human being regularly. So I wanted to see it multiple times to solidify who I am as well and what my next steps are. So worked for me.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts.
I mean, if you wanted to speak on anything, what are your thoughts on like tempering or yeah?
He's out of here.
Yo, you got your mic on? Yeah. We don't want to hear it. All right.
He was so ready to go.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on
Gosh.
temperance? Tempering.
Well, I think I just was listening, absorbing. I do want to see the movie because, you know, all my people saw the movie.
Yeah.
I want to be able to speak on it. But,
I gotta read Body is the Score because everyone else is reading it.
you know, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And
I've heard.
you're going to feel it deep inside you. Like, woo.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's very good. It's validating and it's very well done. It's very well done. But yeah, I think the conversation you had with Amy is probably a continuance of the conversation I was having with Amy about, and like, you know, you make your choices, and you learn the lesson until you're done learning it.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, like it keeps coming up. Oh, facts.
Yeah, I feel that hard.
I feel that. What feels good to me recently is like, that's the cyclical trauma loop you're stuck in, right? It's like it doesn't matter who it is. If you don't learn the lesson, if you don't break the cycle, it's gonna come right back around. And you're like, damn, I was here before. To different people, different place, but I was here before.
Yeah.
You know, and like,
And that's part of the grief of it, because you realize you've been there before.
yeah. And if you watch the last podcast, I talked about like the bittersweetness of like headed towards our authenticity or lining up. I think that's what it is. It's like you've been having this lesson come around so many times, and now it's time to break it. And there's a comfortability unconsciously in that I've been in this cycle and I don't know anything outside of it. So if I break this cycle, now that I'm aware of it, then what? You know, like what's outside of this cycle?
Well, yeah.
And that's the bittersweetness. Is like there's a grieving of the comfortability place. It's like, yo, I've been doing this so long in all my relationships, whatever it is. And now I'm uncomfortable enough to move past myself, like my part.
Is your mic turned off?
What's that?
It's beeping. Mine is too.
Testing.
Mine is not.
Interesting. All right. I don't know what that means. So
Me either.
I
We're
don't
gonna
know
find
how much
out.
caught.
Stay
Hey,
tuned.
You want to?
Really loud.
Let's end it here.
You want to end it here? Yeah, because I don't know if it's recording.
Ending.
Emergency ending. You heard.
So, do you want to round it out? Just to see
Yeah.
if
All
it
I was
did hear
saying
us?
is that there's
I don't know that.
there's this bittersweetness in like breaking the cycle, and that's like the lesson's gonna come around until you learn it, and learning it is breaking the cycle. So that's the sweet part of it. It's like, finally I'm ready to like absorb this lesson and make it part of me. And going forward, I know I'm not gonna end up in this cycle again, and that's been my comfortable place. So
Well, okay. So, and I don't know if this is catching this, but fuck it. We have again, to break a cycle isn't to just move,
right.
which is what so many times is thought, right? Part of like learning to speak my truth was being truthful, like learning how to actually voice what I wanted. And a lot of times I would like, you know, again, as a man, we're taught not to even advocate for ourselves, let alone a black man. So there was times where I was just like, nah, I'm good. You good? Yeah, I'm fine. Right? And that became from me covering something to me learning to now be okay no matter what happens. And that's not good. It would seem most people are like, that's amazing, but it became numb. I wasn't sensing or feeling life anymore, right? And while that does make you able to withstand, it also almost haunts you.
Callous.
Right, not even callous at that point. I mean, you're band near steel at that point. Sounds great until something happens and you realize that you need a little bit of both, right? So if the lesson does come around until you move actual forward. And then when the lesson does come around again, because you respond to it different, it's no longer a lesson, it's just an action, right? And that's important to, like, for the average person. Once you learn it, you got it, now you're just doing whatever's necessary. It's no longer something you have to stew over. It becomes almost like a reflex, right? You'll do it because you learned the lesson. And if more people did that, then they would feel better overall. You know, the nutrition stuff is like a big play into that, right? Somebody will know they're hurting themselves. They'll continue to make the same choices they were making before because they're comfortable choices. There's uncomfort, difficulty, this not being at ease when it comes to changing what they were doing previously. And you have to admit to yourself on some level that what you were doing is actually harming you. Like there's a whole step process to actually changing a habit, right? So hopefully when people run into those spaces, they know what to do, right? We're just here to facilitate that. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining. If you like this video, like it, share it. Also hit that notification button and subscribe because we want you to know when everything's coming out. Also, you can find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, under the name Getting It Daily, and that's where we get together, reach out to us so we can help you or help someone else you may know. Okay? Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time.
Deuces.